I'm going to give you my actual impressions, yogurt-free, of Delve. Delve has got a couple of bugs on it. I'm not really going to rage about the bugs too much. The bugs are pretty annoying, though. That being said, I still love the league. The main bugs that I've personally experienced have been Val side areas, which are like a big fancy thing, not being accessible. I've had it where you don't get an entrance shot at all. I've had it where you can't actually enter them even though you have an entrance. I've had the cart just run away from me a few times. When you load like adjoining areas, sometimes the cart just decides to say nope and it just leaves without you. It's not the teleport bug. The teleport bug was different. That's been fixed. The way this bug works is like you go to start the next area, you're left here, and the crawler just pisses off. I've had that 3 times today. You can just log out macro out of it, though, so that's not too big of an issue. I still think the brightness thing... I know you guys mean me on the brightness thing. I think the brightness could be fixed. As a mechanic which is most likely going to be going core, you want it to look nice. You want it to feel good. You don't want it to be like a pain in the ass, you know. Getting onto the whole flare debacle. Flares are very buggy. Flares don't feel very good. And funnily enough, my perfect timing to talk about bugs. My flask have actually stopped working. That's quite funny, so I now need to abandon this run. Nice. Perfect. My mouse has completely stopped working, and I'm getting wrecked by... So you talk about bugs, you get bugged, I guess. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. I think I maybe turn on like sticky keys or something, so my none of my macros are working. My logout macro broke and everything. So yeah, bugs, by the way. Feels good, man. Is it working now? Now, of course it's working now that I've died. Beautiful. And just to prove, we press these to get the things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by the way. So, I don't know what caused that. And my logout Mac. What the hell caused that? That was quite funny. Anyway, so as you can tell, this definitely isn't really a league that you want to play on hardcore, which is why I went softcore this time around. Now, even with all of the bugs, because I'm on softcore, I've been having a hell of a lot of fun with Delve. I really would not play hardcore this league round. If you're someone who has to play hardcore, otherwise PvE is not fun at all for you, I'd probably focus more on unlocking Atlas stuff and then do Delve stuff later on. When it comes to the whole upgrade thing, this is another thing where a lot of people feel quite passionately. So currently the upgrades are character bound, not account bound. I like the fact they're character bound, and I'm going to try and explain why I like that they're character bound and not account bound. The main reason why people want them to be account bound is so they never feel like they're wasting upgrades. Let's say you have 50 different characters that you play during a league. You know, they want it all to go that way. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind, we're literally like 2-3 days into the league. I think the reason why a lot of people are complaining is that they played a wacky starter build. They realized their starter build wasn't very good, and now they've played something else. So they're frustrated about their build, and then they're frustrated that their like Azerite went to waste. Now, there are catch-up mechanics with Azerite. If you were to skip Azerite completely while leveling, the deeper into the like mines you go, the more Azerite you gain. Same with Sulfite. So while it might seem very grindy currently at very low tiers, once you get into the higher tiers, it'll be less of an issue. Also, like, the upgrades aren't even that amazing, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think having played games which have account-wide stuff, Diablo with Paragon is a good example, I think it being character-bound is good. Gives each character a sense of personal progression. The Atlas is account-bound. If the Atlas was character-bound and this was character-bound, sure, I'd agree that would seem like really daunting to ever make a new character. But I don't feel like I won't want to make new characters because of Azerite. When it comes up to the argument of, but Tarke, you know, of course you said that you're a streamer. What about the people who can only play like an hour a week, 2 hours a week? If you're only playing an hour a week, 2 hours a week, then you're probably not going to be pushing insanely deep delves because you're not going to have the playtime to push extremely deep delves. And if you are pushing extremely deep delves, you're probably only doing it on 1 or 2 characters anyway. If you're in a position where you're playing on a very limited time schedule and pushing the deepest delves possible, then you're probably doing unlimited characters. You're probably not re-rolling every couple of days. So I think it's really less of an issue than it seems to be, even if you're only playing 10 hours a week or whatever. And there will be ways. Someone has already said that quarry farming is pretty good to easily get Sulfite up. And there are ways around it. There are other things that you can do if you play in trade leagues. So if you play in a group, for example, one thing you can do is you can have like a fast mapping character. So like, let's just say Tornado Shot Deadeye and have a support. This is if you play with groups and supports. If you have the support pick everything up, you can just run everything on the support's mines. That way you can freely swap characters. This is something that Grimro's doing. So you have like your map clearing character, and then you have your support who upgrades everything. And then when you go to actually run the delve, the support starts the delve, and the map carry dude logs onto his delve boss killer dude. So there are funny systems that you can cheat it anyway to make it pseudo account bound if you have friends that you play with regularly. I think it's probably a little too early for us to say right now should they completely rework this system. Now going back to the flare topic, which definitely does need reworking, the main issue you have with flares is they either like throw at a distance or at your feet, or it seems weird with movement speed. My personal preference when it comes to flares would be flares to drop at your feet, always drop at your feet, have a slightly increased base radius, and then they tick down to a smaller point. I think it's kind of lame that flares currently don't have any like duration timers on them, and the only real options would be if they had like a actual like UI, like a health bar. I think that would look ugly, and if you're playing like a minion build, stuff with lots of ground clutter, it would get lost. I think the cleanest way is you have it be a very big visible light source that rapidly shrinks down. And you say, but Tarke, you need to throw it in front of you to explore old content. Not really. If we go into the mine real quick, just so I can show you this. If it doesn't crash, hopefully it doesn't. The idea is you can take some damage. So you go in and then you run into the light to like refresh your stacks. So my idea is you run through, then when you start taking damage, you then drop the flare, which went in front of me then for some reason. That shows you exactly why the flare system is kind of bullshit. So I had my mouse behind me. It didn't drop. I was stood still. It didn't drop at my feet, it dropped in front of me. So if I was on lower HP, that would have been completely screwed. So yeah, I would make the flares base a bit larger, let them shrink down, so it's very obvious when they do stuff, because now that's in front, that's stacking up nicely, and that's that. There's also been some bugs of like flares disappearing. Some people have died from that. That's just something which will hopefully get fixed from a technical thing. Another good option they could have is if they had like a very obvious like sound effects, like a burning flare, like a whoosh, and then you could hear that like if it started with a high intensity and then it trickled down. That could be another way that you could get a rough idea of how the duration things works. Another common complaint people have is in the deep darkness, monsters are immune. Now I recommend running Phase Run for this. Phase Run is instant cast now, and it makes your character phase, so you can run through everything. So Phase Run is the perfect thing, really, for when you're like running off to the sides to explore things. Pop that, A-OK, no problem. And yeah, movement speed is actually pretty good this league. You know, make sure you have some movement speed. You can explore pretty far. You know, but softcore, by the way, you don't want to explore too far without your flares. So yeah, I like Delve. Delve is cool. I would not play Delve in hardcore. Flares could use some work. Get movement speed, but don't just run blindly into mobs. And yes, I'm Tarke. Have fun in the mines. Have a good day. Bye-bye.